Hello and welcome to Galahad Reviews. I'm Galahad, and today I am reviewing a mouse that I am sure you have all heard of, the Logitech G Pro Wireless. This is not a sponsored review. I first bought this mouse around 2 years ago after selling myself to random onlookers at an underpass. It is not something I am proud of, but it allowed me to obtain a true forerunner in the wireless gaming market. This mouse is now an icon used by most pros and has even been used in tournaments to win. So, what makes this mouse so special? What separates it from its peers? Let's find out. Let's get nerdy. Logitech showed up super early to the wireless game back in 2016 with their release of Lightspeed Wireless. At that time, not only did they knock it out of the park, they practically sent it to another planet, as the only comparable wireless tech that has come out is Razer's Hyperspeed Wireless, which released late 2019, nearly 3 years later. Lightspeed Wireless was the first to solve the fundamental problems of latency, stability, and connectivity, even in the heaviest data-saturated environments. They did this by innovating the wireless data transfer rate to the point where, in many cases, they were beating competitors' wired connections, based on relative click response time in milliseconds. This was completed by years of research and development by trying different prototypes. Each prototype tested protocols and algorithms which focused on three main things. First, they had to have robust, stable connections. Second, they had to transfer data at extremely fast rates. And the third, they had to do this while using the least amount of energy as possible, all to give us the most performance as possible with the least amount of battery impact, which is no small feat. Once they did this at every level, they put it together and made Lightspeed, which would become the benchmark for wireless performance for the next 4 years, only recently being overtaken by Razer's Hyperspeed Wireless, which really is mind-boggling, as things in tech rarely hold the top spot for long. If you're enjoying this video so far, make sure to hit that like button, and of course subscribe if you're interested in seeing more like this. There have been a few times where my wireless connection would spaz out, making my mouse just stop working or start moving all over the place, but this has only happened a handful of times. Next up is the Hero sensor. It got its name by saving your aim. Originally, Logitech was using a variant of the PixArt PMW3360 called the PixArt PMW3366, which was the best sensor on the market during its time. Some argue it is still better than the Hero sensor. I tend to agree with this statement, but more on that a bit later. Logitech decided to make their own sensor without the help of PixArt, which is the Logitech Hero sensor. Yes, they make it in-house. They didn't have any ties to PixArt for this. The architecture of the sensor allows it to operate at optimal frame rate, which still conserves as much energy as possible. To explain a bit further, it uses variable frame rate to constantly adapt to the sample rate to deliver maximum performance regardless of speed or acceleration. It also constantly adjusts the lighting power and intensity frame by frame to produce the optimal capture for each given frame regardless of surface, aka automatic surface tuning, which means it gives the lowest liftoff distance as possible to give a more consistent tracking experience. The design was entirely optimized for maximum performance and low power consumption, from the lens cluster all the way to how the sensor integrates with the microcontrol unit of the mouse. It also uses flash memory based firmware, which means it can be updated for further tracking improvements in the future, which is how I believe they were able to go from a 12K Hero sensor found in the G305 to the 16K Hero sensor in the G Pro Wireless. They claim the performance of the Hero is tied with the 3389, TM3 and 3366, but uses 8 to 10 times less energy. I and many others feel like the 3366 is slightly more accurate than the Hero, but the battery life is dramatically better. This could be placebo, but since every time I go back to the 3366, I feel it, I tend to disagree. But that is opinion, not fact. The only thing that I was able to find to defend my position is that they claim the Hero sensor has, and I quote, at least 98% resolution accuracy, where the 3360 and therefore the 3366 claim at least 99%. And I felt this difference way before I ever saw that statistic. The actual specs of the Hero sensor are 16,000 DPI with 0 smoothing, acceleration, or filtering. It has greater than 40 G acceleration, greater than 400 inches per second, and has a resolution accuracy of greater or equal to 98%. Moving on to the shell, it is ultralight, coming in at 80 grams. Before this, most wireless mice were 110 grams or more. So this was a huge leap when it first came out, where even now, most mice, whether wired or wireless, still struggle to get this lightweight. The outer shell is as thin as 1 millimeter, but does not flex when squeezed. I do hear a rattle if I shake it. It comes with 4 to 8 programmable buttons, which you can choose as they are modular on the device itself and then adjust in Logitech G Hub if you so wish, which is nice. It makes it feel like a transformer, and who doesn't like transformers? Especially if you're strange and are left-hand dominant, in which this mouse still works for you, you weirdo you. There is a little magnet that holds the buttons in place, and they do not shake once in place. The click from my mouse is rather quiet, but feel semi-crisp and take a light amount of actuation force. It comes with LightSync RGB. There are 2 RGB zones. The first is for DPI and the second is for the G logo. You can choose in the software to turn on or off each zone. When the lighting is off, you cannot see the DPI at all, but you can still see the G logo. The RGB is not as accurate as it is for some of the competition, but I would say it is as good or better than most of the competition. It has difficulty showing certain colors such as purple or turquoise. However, it does a great job at showing orange. All these colors are usually difficult to reproduce, so finding a mouse that can get it right is rare. It also comes with 5 onboard memory profiles, which you can save custom lighting to, which means the only time you need to open the Logitech G Hub is for setup or for firmware updates. Last up is their mechanical tensioning system. They use a metal spring to tension the left and right key plates. They do this for a few different reasons. Up first is to ensure travel distance is as low as possible. The second is to ensure consistent actuation force, and the third is to make sure every click feels crisp, which is why a lot of people praise Logitech on their click presence, as this is on all their gaming mice. For this mouse, it has the smallest travel distance I have ever seen on any mouse. However, due to this, I think it creates a higher than average defect rate. I did some research, and according to 1,263 reviews between Amazon and Best Buy, 15% of Amazon reviews and 10% of reviewers total reported developing a double click issue or their left and or right button breaking, which is ridiculously high. They have yet to fix this issue after 2 years on their flagship device. I would bet money that on the future they will be switching to optical switches, but only time will tell if I am correct or not. I believe this issue comes down to 2 reasons. The first being they appear to be using a D2FC switch, which has been known to be questionable in terms of longevity and quality. The second is due to this mechanical tensioning system actuating the click so much lower than most other mice, it can malfunction and continue to register clicks because there is just such a limited amount of space for it to work. Like, for example, if I have a click that takes this much room, and it actuates right here, that means that I have all of this to be able to kind of have an error rate, right? Of I can go higher than I need to. However, if your rate is this high, that means you have a very small margin of error that you're allowed to have. And because the mouse clicks on this are so tiny, I think if any type of defect happens, it then starts registering double clicks. Clicks themselves are crisp, light with non-existent pre-travel. I have never had the double click issue on any of my Logitech mice. I have owned this mouse for the past 2 years since it originally came out, and it is still going strong without any defects. Moving on to some other random stuff I have not already mentioned. Scroll wheel is excellent. It has very defined steps, requires a light amount of force to move, and light/moderate amount to click, with being more on the moderate side. This has been known to be a failure point, where some users were reporting that either it takes a ton of force to actually click down, or it would start registering double clicks. It is also a bit raised compared to literally everything else, which means it requires your finger to move more than on other mice, which some may complain about. It also picks up a lot of grime after 2 years of usage. There are 2 other colors that are limited edition. I don't know if they will ever be repeating these colors or not, but they are called Ghost, which is a white version that will get lost if you throw it out into the snow, or Pixel, which is a pink version, which either your girlfriend will steal or will get lost in your girlfriend's clothing drawer. I would love for them to make this a common color that people can choose. The mouse is also not balanced. It is back heavy, which may annoy some, unless if you're a butt person, then the PTFE feet are average. They are a bit slow, but get the job done. Other newer mice are now shipping with 100% PTFE feet, which I find to glide easier and personally prefer. A lot of people end up replacing their feet with something else, such as dinosaur slippers. I mean, hyperglides. It has a glossy type of material over the entire mouse. A lot of people hate this for 2 reasons. First, it's slippery. Me personally, I agree with this. Not a big fan. Second, for those of you who have hyperhidrosis of the hand, or also known as excessive hand sweating, the paint can start to peel off. The battery life is reported at 48 hours with default lighting, or 60 hours without. I have found battery life to be great. In the software itself, it shows approximately how many hours you have left currently and how much you would have at a full charge, which is a genuinely nice feature. If you have the software open, it will also notify you of a low battery with a pop-up, your lights changing to a pulsating red, and switch to low battery mode. Some users have reported that this glitches out a lot. I have not had that issue. It also comes with the ability to add power play, which pretty much is wireless charging that occurs while using it. However, it is super expensive, adds weight to the mouse, and limits the overall size of your mouse pad, which for me personally made me pass on it. Next is shape. I think this is pretty hit or miss with people. They took over 50 pros and had them test a bunch of different molds, and what they chose to be the most comfortable is what we have today. It is a medium-sized mouse, which you can use any grip style with. It tapers very mildly in the middle, flares very mildly in the back, and gets narrower at the front. It has a rather pronounced hump on the back. I personally have never found it to be the most comfortable, but do not find it to be bad either. The software itself is basic, and you can easily change what a button does and the RGB lighting, but then it gets a lot more complicated in trying to figure out how to save a custom profile to your mouse. Aesthetically, it is pleasing to the eye. Its functionality, however, leaves a lot to be desired, but it always works and never crashes. I would rate it a 6 out of 10, or also known on my scale as solid. It comes with a flexible rubber cable, which isn't as nice as the paracord cables that other mice are shipping with. So in the event that you need to use it while charging, you'll likely want to use a mouse bungee. It also keeps the dongle close by to provide the best connection as possible. I think they say to keep it within 1 meter or 3.3 feet for ideal location, but can be used a lot further than that, but it increases the chance of problems occurring. This dongle can also be stored inside the mouse when traveling. Some complaints that I saw going over 1,263 reviews between Amazon and Best Buy are the following: rubbing between the left or right click or the middle mouse button. This was mostly fixed after the first batch of mice shipped out. Up next is the mouse not charging or not fully charging. Next is wireless lag or skipping/stuttering, which I have noticed a handful of times. The scroll wheel having difficulty clicking or not working, or double clicking. The coating wearing off/peeling rattle, which is present on my mouse. Battery sensor does not notify that they are out of juice or charge. The mouse itself just completely died all by itself. Connectivity issues on Mac, and loose clicks. Most of these happened in less than 1% of cases, except for the double click issue, which was 10 to 15% of people, which is very high and definitely a QA problem with this mouse. Some other opinions of people from that sample: it didn't feel as responsive as the PMW 3366, which was their old sensor in all of their products, which I do agree with. You can't change scroll wheel direction. This might have been fixed. I didn't look in the software. Didn't like the shape or material, couldn't adjust lift-off distance as it does this automatically, but can't do it manually, and it feels cheap and that the mouse feet rub down quickly. So moving on to the conclusion. So we have covered a lot. I am going to keep this conclusion rather short. Even after 2 years, this is still what I would consider to be the second best mouse on the market, only recently being surpassed by the Razer Viper Ultimate, as it does nearly everything right. It has very satisfying crisp clicks, excellent weight, excellent side clicks, great scroll wheel, and comfortable shape, all while being wireless with some of the quickest response times around. I continue to recommend this mouse to people, as very few will leave disappointed even with the premium price tag of $150. With that said, it has a very prolific issue with double clicks, which have left a very sour taste in the mouths of many. Logitech still has not rectified this issue, which has impacted the overall idea of their brand in a negative way. If you're torn between the Logitech G Pro Wireless or the Razer Viper Ultimate, or just want to check out the review for the Razer Viper Ultimate, those links will be down in the description below. If you also just so happen to be buying this product off Amazon, my affiliate links are down in the description below, which is an excellent way in which you can support this channel and future reviews for free, as I get a small commission off your purchase, which doesn't cost you anything extra. I use those commissions to buy other products to review. With that said, also know that I will never ever bias a review in hopes for a commission or monetary gain in any way, shape, or form. Tech is a very, very expensive hobby, and this is one way I can continue to fund it. That is the end of this video. If you liked it, give it a like. If you didn't like it, give it a dislike. And if you've been following my content for a while or want to see more similar to this, hit that subscribe button and turn on bell notifications so you know when I upload a new review. Last, if you want to go above and beyond in supporting this channel, make sure to share this video with those who would find it helpful. I will see you and your beautiful face on the next one. God bless and peace out.